Hello, welcome to Towle Talks. Today we get into the code of basic inheritance. So this is kind of a new format. I'm going to try to do the code live with a webcam, keep it a little bit less boring hopefully. Anyway, this is going to be a tutorial on basic inheritance. So here I created a new package in Java and NetBeans. I haven't done anything special to it yet. So it's just a basic vanilla project you get from NetBeans. The first thing I'm going to do is create two new Java classes. Now, you could use the main class for inheritance, but it's better not to. It's better to have the main class just be a driver than actually have to worry about or to use it as a class you're going to instantiate. So we'll make a new class, we'll call it parent. We'll make a new Java class and we'll call it child. If I can type. Now, child is going to inherit from parent eventually. That's how we want it to work. So the way we do that in Java is we do extends. Extends is the keyword, and then we can type parent. If you're doing it inside an IDE like NetBeans, you'll already have this in the same package. If you're doing this in like a command line environment, you'll have to make sure you have the correct link in your make file. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the constructors. We talked about the constructor sequence calls, and again, the parent is going to be called first, or the eldest or the highest level inheritance is going to be called first. So here's an example of a default constructor for parent. And right now all we're going to do is system.out.println inside parent, and then inside their child we'll do something similar. We'll say public child system.out.println child. If I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video. So now we go back to our driver, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to instantiate an instance of the child. So we'll say child my test equals, and remember we have to say it's actually instantiate the object, so we have to say new child. Now normally this would simply invoke the child constructor, but because it inherits, it will call the parent first, then the child. I will prove that to you now. So inside parent, this is child because I forgot to type child inside child. So the parent constructor is called first. Incidentally, for those of you trying to learn C++, the deconstructors are called in the reverse order. So the deconstructors would start in the child and move up. So the next thing I want to show you about inheritance is the ability to get to inherit methods. So here we'll public void print smile. Okay, simple. Again, this is kind of a nonsensical example, but you'll get the idea. This is a method being implemented that's public or protected. It could be protected as well. And here we'll just do system.out.println cheesy smiley face. Now, if we go back to our driver, we have an instance. My test is an instance of child, and we never added the print smile function to child. But if we do my test dot, we will see that I will have a print smile function. And the reason I have that print smile function is I'm inheriting it from the parent class. And as you see, it is working. Now, I made a big deal about the whole not having private members, but what I did, you actually do inherit the private members and private variables. The child class cannot access them. However, if the child class calls a method, say in the parent class, then you can access them. So here's an example of a private variable problem. So this is inside parent again. I'm going to have a private variable int x, a very horrible variable name. And then inside the parent constructor, I'm going to set x as 10. Now, if you go to child now, and we go, okay, well, let's do public, or here, let's just print out the x value in the constructor because it's inheriting. Dot out, dot print line, and we can say this dot x, and I should see an error occur here, and I do, because y, x has private access in the parent. So a child cannot see the x directly. However, if the child has access to, say, a protected method, so this is protected, the outside world will not be able to call this, but anything inherited could. Here I can return x. Or I don't have to return it, I can actually use x right here, but it has to be in the parent. Now the child can access the x value by doing essentially a glorified get function, but only for inherited classes. So it's not like a get function public, it's a get function that only inherited classes can understand. I don't have to return the value x to the child either. I could simply call a method inside the parent that uses the x to do whatever I need to do. So now if I run this, you'll see that it prints 10 in the constructor, and so now here it's showing you that the child does in fact have the private variable, it just does not have access to it. So two more quick things. We had talked about overloading, or overriding, sorry, I keep getting mixed up. So here we have public void, no, let's just use print smile. So we have this print smile, and child's like, you know what, I don't like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to do our own. Public void draw smile. And I should see a little error pop up here in a moment, and notice I got print smile, print smile. And now it's going to give me this little error here. If I click on this, well, I can click on it. So it's the add at override. And this is the annotation stating that I'm overriding the method. Now here's the example of polymorph, well not yet, I'll show you, but here's an example where the compiler has to pick which one's the correct. So instead of printing a smiley face, the child's going to be a little more sophisticated and have a multiple line smiley face. For those who are wondering, backslash is a special character, so to actually get the real backslash to print out, I have to have two of them. So now when I run this, if I go back to, again, I'm overriding this from the parent, so the child's kind of being rebellious, it's doing its own thing. If I go back to my driver now, I have an instance of child, and I run print smile, I should invoke, as you can see, the child's print smile. Nothing really shocking about that, right? I mean, there's nothing really that should not disturb anyone. That's what we would expect to happen. Here's kind of the cool, but that's polymorphism. That's selecting the right function based on the instance of the file. Here, something else we can do that's really cool is we can take an array of type parent say 2, and we'll say my array bracket 0 equals new parent my array bracket 1, which apparently I cannot spell array. What's going on here? Ooh. equals new child. So again, same scenario we had in the PowerPoints. If I do my array 0, remember that these are both instances of parent. This array is type parent. I do draw a smile or print smile, and then I do my array 1 dot print smile. So what do we expect to happen here? Well, after we get inside parent, inside child 10, and then this smiley face printed, we should see inside parent because we're invoking a parent constructor. And then we should see inside parent, inside child because we're invoking a second child constructor. After that, we should see the parent smile, which is this simple one-line smiley face, and we should see the child smile face, which is multi-line. Let's see what happens. And there we see inside parent for when I make the parent, inside child for when I make the child. And although I called both of these from context of type parent, both of these were called from the same array that's type parent, Java knew that the first one called the parent smiley face and the second one called the child's parent, smiley face. This is polymorphism. So we'll conclude for this video. Next time we'll talk a little bit about the design of inheritance, and a little bit more concepts on that, and then we'll get into abstraction. So that was a quick overview of basic inheritance. Again, there's much more to it. We're going to get into the design of inheritance and abstraction later in movies to come when I post them. But for now, it was just a basic, here's how you get inheritance working, and here's the basic things you can do with it. I hope you've learned something. This has been Towle Talks. Until next time, cheers.